Welcome, everybody, to the sixth and final episode of Goofing with Newf. Yes, you've heard that correctly. It is the sixth and final episode of Goofing with Newf. And it's unfortunate. Hopefully, everybody's in the chat because somehow the chat well, I think everybody's here. Okay, hang on. Before we, I'll reintroduce myself, guys. Can you hear us? Can you hear us fine? People in the chat, can you hear me fine? Just let me know how the audio is going here. Just want to make sure the audio is good, and then I'll get Boom to speak in.
Yeah.
Boom, just go ahead.
Yeah, I'm here, brother. I'm ready to rock and roll.
All right. The guys are saying it's good. Finally. No, just when the video went live, it was kind of rendering or doing some shit, and just wanted to make sure it's actually going because I've had problems in the past. I don't trust YouTube anymore. Boom probably knows the feeling either. Like one day it works great, and the next day it's like a schizophrenic hole. But yeah, here we are, guys. Yes, it is the sixth and final episode, Goofing with Newf, and yes, you heard that correctly. Okay. The bad news is this is the final episode of Goofing with Newf, and I'm pleased to announce my co-host tonight, and my guest is the one, the only Mr. Boomstick XL. What's happening, Boom?
Hey, what's going on, dude? Listen, this is I'm actually honored and also very saddened to hear this. I know you've tried a few things, and you know, normally, dude, you do great when you're on either on someone else's podcast or doing your own work. So I'm actually a little taken aback that this is the last episode. But of course, to be honest with you, I'm very happy to be here.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you why. As I said, the bad news is the final episode of Goofing with Newf. The good news is I'm not going away. I'm not sort of ditching the show. I'm kind of rebranding it. You guys know a little lady by the name of Primal Eve, correct?
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
Right? She's phenomenal, right?
She certainly is.
Primal Eve is going to be joining me, and we're going to be starting a gruesome twosome of sorts, our own podcast together on a weekly basis. And so I'm just kind of rebranding it with her. We will be still having guests, only now I will have a consistent co-host. I don't know where the time and the days yet. We're still got to work out those details. But the good news is, yes, Primal Lee will be joining me full time, and we are certainly excited about that. And I think the community is excited to know that they're going to hear a little bit more of, I guess you could say, the female Newf Nukem.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it, for sure.
Yes, she is no chills herself. I just want to shout out to the chat. We got some crazy awesome people up in here, including Titan Drago, Spider-Man, the Blue One, Dreadpool, Timothy Dixon, Saltiest Gaming is here. My brother Salt. We had a great time playing Battlefield 5 the other night. Who else we got here? We got Cyber Gunter, Idle Sloth, Born Distracted. I think I got to everybody. If I didn't, guys, make sure you let me know. I'll give you a shout out in the chat because, as me and Boom know, without you guys, these podcasts are kind of pointless for the most part. You are part of the show. We're happy to hear it. But again, I'm happy to have Boomstick XL, guys. His channel is blowing up. Man puts in the work and it shows, and that's why I love this guy. He's charismatic. He speaks well. He does his research, his homework, so to speak, and he puts out some phenomenal content. It's a little hard for me to catch a lot of it live these days because I'm usually working when he goes live, but I do try to catch up on it when I can, and I'm happy to say I've been part of his show, I do believe I'm going to be with you on Friday. Is that correct?
Yes, you're going to be a guest on Breakfast with Boom. I'm going to be putting out that guest list any day now. Kind of just been really putting the shows together. Obviously, listen, I mean, if you're not having fun doing this, if you're a podcaster or you're thinking about getting into the so-called business, there's a lot of work. I mean, sure, we can come up here and Newf and I are going to talk about some topics and I'll give our opinions on games, but he knows, and because he runs his own shows, and and of course I run mine, that there is a tremendous amount of work, but there's also so much knowledge that you get. I mean, like I was telling you before we went live, I read 20 articles today. And it's become standard fare to read anywhere between 40 and 50 articles. And there's a lot of people in the chat that actually helped me out with that. I got to give a big shout out, first of all, to Dreadpool, who is he's basically the video game sleuth of the community. He finds all of this information and, like a complete gentleman, always sends it to me. So he helps out a great deal. So like you were saying, we couldn't do this show without the people that are in the chat right now. So good on them. And listen, let's get this party started, dude.
Amen to that. Love Boomstick's new graphic ball they showed it. The graphic dot has certainly nailed the essence there. Got him kind of down pat. So cool. Good on J Dubs, who's still rocking some sweet stuff.
Yeah, I gotta say, I gotta give him a real public shout out. I mean, first of all, he surprised me with it. I didn't expect it, and just to show you the sheer, absolute, ridiculous talent that this dude has, he actually got that picture. He sketched it on a still that he took from one of my unboxing videos. I mean, wow. That is skill. So listen, again, I know this is not my show, and I know this isn't, we're not going to do a commercial, but if you are interested to get a gamer pick like mine, and you're looking for someone to do it, check out xboxgamerpicks.com. I mean, J Dubs is nothing short of an absolute one of the best artists I actually know, and his talent is just on display with so many people from this community. I say give him a shot. That's what I say. His prices are very reasonable, and you know what? More importantly, he's a really good dude.
Yeah, he's a genuine guy. He's a true Canadian, man.
Yeah, yes, he is.
Please, thank you, and all that good shit. That's right. Oh man, that is good to have you here, Boom. Yes, if you didn't know this, me and Boom have some similarities and plenty of differences, I'm sure, when it comes to a lot of different things, but we do gel very well on many things. And I basically I could sum the two of us up in difference is if we were both Santa Claus, he'd be bringing the really good presents to you, all wrapped in nice fancy paper and stuff. I'm the Santa Claus who would basically wrap you a pile of shit, but I would have a nice bow on it. That's the difference. So no, we're gonna get right down to it. We got a lot of topics, but we're gonna have a little fun with this. Goofing with Newf is about just kind of having fun, not as structured, I guess, of a podcast routine. What have you been playing, Boom? What's been keeping you up at night recently?
Well, I mean, listen, I have to immediately jump to Resident Evil 2, the one-shot demo. I'm gonna say this. It is a masterpiece, and I'm going to say that I think Capcom has once again, you thought that they brought their so-called AAA game with 7, and 7 was a masterpiece, but I'm going to tell you this right now. We've seen them hit home runs left and right. First it was Resident Evil 7, then it was Monster Hunter Worlds that shocked everybody on how good it was. We have Devil May Cry. The demo came out. It looks absolutely fantastic. And now we got a chance to play Resident Evil 2, which comes out in a couple of weeks. And I'm going to tell you this, man. I don't know, Newf, if you played it.
Oh yes, I know that's one of the topics too. So.
Yeah, my God. So that's actually what's been it's been keeping me up. But you know what I picked up for $20, and I really do encourage anyone that likes Capcom to do it. I've been playing the shit out of Onimusha Warlords, and my God,
right, that just came out.
Yes, it is fan-freaking-tastic.
I've never played the original, and I haven't played this one, so I'll have to take your word for it. So
I mean, look, here's the thing: it's okay when you talk about remakes. They up they up-res the graphics. They seem to have they did a significant amount of touch-ups on the actual like CG cutscenes. It's nothing on the level of Resident Evil 2. It still has the fixed camera angle, so you're kind of walking around a corner, you don't know what's behind the the next phase. But it's $20. It's only a $20 game, and I'm actually having a real blast with it. I mean, I love Onimusha 1 through 3, and this is listen, I put it to this way. We're old school cats, you and me, Newf, right? Like we grew up with the 8-bit stuff, and we got a chance to see gaming kind of grow. And I'm going to say this to anyone out there that's under 30. If you are a fan of Capcom, and or this goes for the older crowd too. If you want to see an Onimusha, remastered, or you want to see a new Onimusha, tell Capcom by buying this game, because that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to support. Again, this is stuff I read on 4chan forums, but apparently this is just a test to see if the market is ready for another Onimusha. And if you like the series like I do, get out there and buy it. It's $20, and I'm telling you won't be disappointed.
Absolutely. We're so old school that we probably got horny looking at the original Lara Croft.
Yeah, listen, let's not talk about that.
Those pointed curves back in, was it,
Oh my god,
1990, was it 1996, 1996, I think it was.
I did 96, dude. Yeah.
Jeez Louise. Yeah, going back. Anyway, just give a quick shout out again to the chat because we got some new people strolling in. We got Mr. So Shady and the Sesh Empire. He is up in here. Easy Money 4K. What's happening, dudes? Thanks for stopping by. Oh, look, the graphic god himself is in the chat. We just finished talking about his greatness. We also got, like I said, Cyber Gunter is here. Our good buddy Titan Drago. I don't think he missed his first shout out, so I'm giving him another shout out again. You know who Titan Drago reminds me of sometimes when he gets really excited on Salty's podcast? He reminds me of fucking Bobcat Goldthwait from the fucking old Police Academy movie.
Yes.
Hey guys, I'm getting ready to go freaking nuts up here. Do you remember that guy?
I certainly do, and you know what? That's probably as close to a person you can actually say, because he is a funny dude, and Titan Drago brings it every time, man.
Agent Rayanne is here as well. Silent Wyvern, what's going on, people? Apparently, Drago says I'm the fourth person to say it. Not exactly, Drago. You don't sound really like that, but there's something about your demeanor, especially when you get excited, that has that. I guess as a pitch, I suppose. I don't know. That's very similar to him.
It always happens when he says he's trying to bring the common back to sense. It's the way he says it. So yes,
absolutely. We got a great crew up here. Like I said, my buddy, good Salty Gamer in here, and of course he's your buddy as well, and a co-host member. So Indie Gamer just dragged his ass over.
Nice. Well, this is some crew here.
Oh man, we got the best, and this is a late night for a lot of you guys because it's like past 10 on the East Coast, and it's 8:13 up in Alberta, Canada, where it's freezing ass cold. But yeah, man, that's great. I'm glad that you're really enjoying the old school Onimusha. I mean, it looks pretty good, but man, I definitely want to get in. And you know what? Since we already sort of touched on it, I definitely want to get in right into that Resident Evil demo, the one-shot demo boom, because I did have a chance to play it. I was blown away by it. I mean, holy hell, the graphics are nuts. Love the modern day controls. That was probably one of the biggest gripes for a lot of people with the old Resident Evil games was, you know, back in the day, we didn't think much of the controls because that was kind of like the thing. But when you played modern day games and you go back, you're like, holy cow, this is like trying to turn a tank, you know, down a one-way street. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, like for me, I'm going to let you take this one away a lot. You've already touched on a bit, but I took my time. I kind of was trying to explore this room and that room. I did, you know, I wasn't really rushing it despite the 30 minutes. And I didn't actually complete it. I don't even know what happens when you complete it. I just went as far as I could go before it was like, you're done. But I was like in all these rooms, and I mean the part where the dude gets hauled apart from the door going down, and then the zombie, I guess, rips him apart. Like the game, the visceral graphics alone were nuts. Like the dude's face hanging off over in the hallway. Man, oh man, oh man. Like, yeah, it's definitely a doozy. If you love the first game, you like Resident Evil, and you just kind of like survival horror games, I definitely think you're gonna do yourself a service and pick this one up. So give us your kind of take on the whole rundown. You know, is it worth the hype? Was the demo, did it fulfill your 30 minutes of pleasure, so to speak, or what?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, I got a chance to play it 3 times. I played it once here when it launched that evening. I stayed up till 1:30 in the morning. And then I got to hang out with my brother and 2 of friends I grew up with, and I played it at his house, and I was able to actually beat the demo in 23 minutes. You get to a certain part after you find a key, and it just ends. I mean, that was, you know, Capcom did that on purpose. Wow. So I got a chance to play it 3 times. It is a modern day masterpiece. I think that this is going to sell very well for Capcom. The hype is there. It is well worth everyone's look. It's basically, I tell you something, it's crazy because it's jump starting 2019, which we know is going to be a massive year for games. I mean, just in the first 3 months alone, it's basically going to be an assault on everyone's wallet. So, I mean, I cannot wait for the 26th to get here. I mean, I'm sure plenty of people that follow me know that I'm a Resident Evil freak. I love everything about it. I've beaten every Resident Evil 10 times over, except for 6, which was an abomination.
Mhm.
But Resident Evil 2 in particular, I must have beaten over 50 times, and that's over a course of a multitude of consoles.
Yeah.
For every console it was on, I beat it a dozen times, maybe more, because it is my
Right.
favorite game of all time. And listen, like I said, I know I saw a number. I think 1.2 million people played the demo over the weekend, that's strong.
Yeah.
Because everybody on my friends list knew was playing it. I mean, when you look, it says Resident Evil demo, and it was. Listen, it's something special. We only got a small taste of it, and this game is supposed to be massive. So I'm stoked, dude. I cannot wait.
Absolutely. Well, let's head over to the chat and see what everybody thinks. In the chat, if you played the Resident Evil demo, I want you to put down good. If you thought it was awesome, say awesome. If you thought it was good, good. If you thought it was meh, whatever, put that in the chat. And I want to know, are you buying it? And if so, put 1 for buy, put 2 for a no, or 2 could count as maybe. So 1 for buy, 2 for no. And I would love to know, if you are buying it, are you buying it for Xbox or PlayStation 4? Doesn't really matter, but I'm just kind of curious. Spider-Man's already given us the meh. Timothy Dixon said it was awesome. So Shady says day one, baby. Yeah, indeed. The problem with that game coming out this month is there's another game coming out, I think, within the same day, or like within the same 2 or 3 days, and that would be Kingdom Hearts 3. And I'm a little bit torn as to which one I'm going to throw my money at. So I have already pre-ordered Resident Evil 2, but I haven't made up my mind quite yet. So, but then I'm not the big, like I said, I've said before, I'm not the biggest Resident Evil fan, not in the same ballpark as you, man. So we'll just have to see how it goes. We'll see where my brain and my heart and my balls want to take me a little bit later. And, Capcom, I got to applaud them. It was an interesting demo, 30 minutes. That's it. They kick you out after that. It's kind of like going to the strip club where you get 1 or 2 dances. They tease you, and then they give you a little slap on the hand and say, you want to see more? You got to go get the lap dance. And that's pretty much what this demo was. And that's Newf's way of putting it.
Well, I mean, listen, it's there's 2 ways to really look at the way they conducted this. First of all, it's I think that because they were so confident on the product, it was balls of steel to put it out there for a 30-minute, like just I don't know if you can call it even a taste. 30 minutes is nice, but I mean, they must have had some serious cojones, if you will, to put it out there like that. And at the same time, I think it was absolutely ingenious, because everybody, just about everyone, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a few people in the chat that are like, yeah, it's just not for me for whatever reason. And I hear you, but just about everyone I personally spoke to was like, yep, I wasn't sure. I played the game. It's day one for me. And I mean, that's what else could you say, Newf?
I know. Well, 30 minutes of the game doesn't seem long, but 30-minute sex life, that's not too bad. Different strokes for different folks. All right. What the hell? So
my good friend Agent Rayhan, who I grew up with, by the way, he says something in the chat that's pretty interesting. He says Double Barrel Gaming was like, let's play with the lights off, and my brother Neo Mental and him were like, no.
Yeah. Well, I hope they implement Dolby Atmos for the headsets, because any of these games too, like, if there's one thing about this game, one thing that Resident Evil 7 did is very well,
the sound
was the sound. It's how you use sound, or lack thereof at times. Sometimes it's just that quiet, and all of a sudden you get that squeak or that creak, or that sort of, that visceral sound is a big part of lending your imagination to what the hell is coming, or the music ramping up, and you know what I mean. It's those great tension moments, and it's pretty cool. So like I said, I'm excited to see more of the game, and chances are I'll pick it up. And I don't think it's full price either. Is it, Boom? I think this game is going for, what is it, $40 US?
What, the Resident 2?
Yeah.
No, Resident 2 is full
price.
Dude. Yeah, it's $59.99, and there's a $69.99 version, which gives you some like outfits and stuff like that. And of course, because Boom is Boom, I have the I think it was $200. Yeah, to $200 collector's edition that comes with the Leon S. Kennedy statue. So
Nice.
yeah, I'm you know, I'm like I said, being such a Resident Evil fan, I'm all in on that. I mean, I pre-ordered that at I think 1 o'clock in the morning. I actually, matter of fact, I was writing and I got a notification. I'm talking in July. I
Yeah.
pre-ordered that. So yeah, I mean, it's full boat and it's going to be worth it. And again, if you said, did you play the original Newf or you didn't?
I've seen the original played. I've never played that. My
Okay.
first, I did play the original, like Resident Evil 1. I didn't play 2. And then I started getting into Resident Evil when Code Veronica came out
Oh,
on the
that's a strong
Dreamcast,
one
because
too.
that was a title that at the time was a real bit of a showcase title for the Dreamcast.
It
So
certainly was. Yep.
yeah, so I got into that one, and then it was 4 that really got me hooked. It was 4 that was like, okay, the graphics, the improved play control. I guess you could say that was when Resident Evil really started to come of age. Although for some people, that's kind of after Resident Evil 4. It's kind of when the series took a bit of a more action-oriented approach and got a little bit away from its roots, so to speak. So, I can't say otherwise because I love number 5. Some people hated 5, and I thought
5
5
was
was great.
fantastic, dude.
I love
Fantastic.
I love the setting of 5. I really love the co-op. It made the game a lot more enjoyable for me to go through and kick some ass with some friends. I loved Shiva. Chris Redfield was pretty dope. Yeah, I really like that. And like you said, 6 was kind of wacky and weird. I don't know. 7 was just off the rails, but a lot of people would argue and say that doesn't really feel like a Resident Evil game. But I think that's a prequel, though, isn't it? Like Resident Evil 7 is pretty much how the T virus got out, isn't it not?
No, Resident 7 takes place way after 6.
Oh, it's way after 6. I
Yeah,
was thinking it was like before for some reason.
yeah, it's Umbrella has as a matter of fact, if you look at some of the gear that he's wearing, it's like apparently based on the lore, he's working for Umbrella, but it's not the Umbrella that basically caused the world to erupt. They didn't bring up the T virus and G virus. So I mean, listen, I put it this way: if you've ever played a Resident Evil game, because I was on the fence about 7. First person, I'm like, wow, man, I don't know about this because this is not the Resident Evil 7. This is not the Resident Evil I know. But after 20 minutes of playing the game with the weapons and the typewriters and the boxes and stuff like that, it was Resident Evil. It's just in a different format. And like I said, I'm really glad that they went back to what made Resident Evil as a whole scary. Because like you said, 6 was wacky, 5 was good, but it was more action based. Kind of like 4. I mean, it did have its horror elements, but it didn't have the survival horror. Right. Whereas 7 really brought it. I mean, really dialed it, to 11, if you will. And it looks like 2 is going to do it all over again.
Absolutely. Well, there you go, guys. Comes out at the end of the month. What is it? The 26th or the 29th? Boom.
25th.
25th of January, guys. Mark your calendars. Pick it up, stream it, all that good stuff, and hopefully we'll see lots of people playing it. I mean, it's, if you're going to do a game, I mean, remasters are one thing just to get an up resolution, but I like how companies, like the Coalition did the Gears of War Ultimate Edition, which was a, almost complete remake of the first game, graphically, play control, a lot of things got improved. This one's much the same. So that's how, if I'm going to drop my coin on a game that's supposed to be, that's how I wish it would be done. You know what I mean? Same thing with The Last Guardian on the PlayStation 4, like a complete overhaul in most regards. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, not just, here's an extra resolution bump, much like they did with God of War 3 for the PS4, which you barely could tell the difference. And then what was it? The Last of Us. The Last of Us kind of had that same thing as well. They call it a remaster, but it would have been nice to see a bit more of an overhaul. But anyway, let's move on to some other topics. We have lots of stuff to talk about. The next one I could probably chirp on for a while. The next one makes me a little bit scared, I suppose, of where the industry is going, and everybody has different opinions. I've been very vocal on mine, to the dismay of some people. But that is just me. I'm old school, and I'm not just old school. I'm very stubborn as well. Good old stubborn Newf. But anyway, I just want to talk about, this digital era. We're coming of age. And I guess one of my topics is kind of going to lead into another topic. And let's start with people like Verizon planning to get into sort of the gaming business on top of Google, Amazon. It seems like everybody wants a piece of that big pie. And why not? When you see Microsoft rolling in the dough, making money hand over fist, and a lot of it largely due to the success of the Xbox division, there's a lot of money on the table for these companies. I think some of them have dabbled for years now with the mobile side, but I think they want to get a bigger slice of that pie. So let's talk about that. Boom. Where do you see this going in the future? Do you think any of these companies actually have a damn shot? Or do you think they're kind of dead on arrival and they'll just find a little niche market? I mean, the big three are going to be hard to dethrone, but let's get your take on it, because like I said, Google, Amazon, Verizon, etc., they all trying to jump in here with their cloud and various ways of getting into the gaming business.
You know, it's interesting, Newf. Very simply because the standard way we play games in 2019 through a console is the big talking point here. I don't see consoles going away. Like if Microsoft has it their way, they're going with a three-prong attack, right? Sony looks to be going straight up traditional with the one box. Nintendo, we don't know what they're going to do. They're really the wild card here. I don't see the traditional box underneath your TV going away, not even in 10 years from now. I really don't. I think options are going to be there. But when you think about, when you say Verizon, you say Google, you say Amazon, you see all these companies wanting to jump in. Here's the thing. It is really late in the game. Sure, I understand digital is going to, it's going to make its mark in one way or another. But, you have to ask yourself, when you talk about a console, right? This is why I've always been pushing the envelope of exclusives. Now, I know a guy like So Shady, who's going to be on the show on Friday with you as well.
Nice.
Is really against like exclusives. He in his opinion, based on what conversations we've had, he doesn't like it. He doesn't like the fact that one particular console has an exclusive and the other one doesn't. And I can understand his point of view, but like, for instance, Verizon, we heard that they're testing PlayStation 4 games. And if you recall, many of the ridiculous fanboy war nonsense that goes on Twitter, you and I have, we've seen it. We've been involved in it, unfortunately. You've had a lot of the very toxic Sony community swear up and down that it's not an exclusive because you can play it on a PC or an Xbox. So basically Xbox is shit. And now we hear that Verizon is testing PlayStation 4 games to run, outside of the, the holy grail of consoles, i.e. the PlayStation 4. And you don't really hear anything. And it's we're starting to get into bizarro land, if you want my honest opinion, because Verizon's going to play PlayStation 4 games. We know what Windows is already doing. We know where they're going. So it's a clear path. But then you talk about Amazon, you talk about Google, like, what games are they going to play? Like, how many systems are you going to need to play Assassin's Creed? Like right now, I believe on Google, you can test Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And a guy like D-Batch, for instance, who's, famously on RDX, he's played it. Predator H2O, another guy that's on Crossfire, he's played it, and they're saying that it's flawless. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, as a gamer who's been gaming since '78, and again, I've moved mostly to digitals. I'm not as stubborn as you, but if you're asking me as a gamer what I'm going to do, I'm always going to buy the traditional Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo console, even 10 years from now. I don't know if I would even bother with a Google or anything else. What about you, dude?
Well, see, I totally get where a lot of people are coming from. Like our good buddy associating the chat, he's an old way of thinking, a new age is beginning. Yep. He says he's ready for it. And I get that. And I understand where people are coming from. And, I'm not here to dissuade the value and the convenience and different things that some of these features will bring, I guess. But while some people are optimists, I happen to be a pessimist, right? I mean, for example, and a prime example I can use right now is when I first subscribed to Netflix. They didn't. It was a very, very good deal. And for years, they didn't up my subscription service at all, right? As a matter of fact, new subscribers were paying more than me for a long time because they let the early adopters stay at their introductory price, right? And
Yeah.
yes, I get it. I'm not stupid enough to know that stuff doesn't go up in this day and age. That's the way of life. Everything sort of just goes up. Rarely ever we see anything go down. Fast food's gone up a lot in the last year and a half, et cetera, et cetera. But Netflix has had 4 increases, and most of them have come. I think they've had 2 now within the last year. And this last one was a fairly substantial bump. While it's still totally affordable, I just don't like the fact where they're going is that they're adding all this exclusive content, this Netflix produced movies and TV shows that, one, I don't care about, okay? And I get it. There's lots of people who do. There's lots of people who like their Marvel shows. There's lots of people who like their movies like Bird Box, et cetera, et cetera. But the problem is, I still got to pay for it, even if I don't watch it or I don't like it. And I don't like the fact that that at this point, because they're sort of a monopoly in a sense, to like they have the largest market share of sort of the movie streaming services. They put a lot of people out of business, and the larger these things tend to get, okay, it's like Katamari Damacy here. They fucking keep rolling the ball up big enough and big enough and big enough till eventually you got to build a new yard to put the fucking ball in. Well, this is the problem I have, and I'm very pessimistic to think that when people start, yes, here's the deal: the ways that we consume our content are going to change. We're going to have hundreds of different devices that can probably access some of these games we want to play, but eventually they're going to narrow things down to one store or only certain places you can get the content from. And then I worry about prices being locked, publishers leeching us to death, because look, we've seen this in the video game business a lot in the last 2 or 3 years alone. There is a reason why Electronic Arts and Activision have become sort of the devil of publishers, because every time they get an inch, they take a mile. They like to leech their fans for every penny they're worth. And you know what? The only time they even stop to think about, hey, are we doing something wrong here, is when the backlash is big enough that they step back a little bit, like the Battlefront 2 scenario. And then they go, oh, maybe this is not such a great idea. Maybe we just can't take our fucking fans to the damn bank because these guys are speaking up now. And then they try to backtrack and are like, well, we're going to give you this for free, and we're going to do this, or we're going to give you this content and we won't charge you. And then they try to look like the good guy all of a sudden. So this is what I'm saying. Like, for me, I'm a pessimist. I don't like being told how I get to consume my content. I think, for me, and it's weird, but to me, Xbox is not just the service. To me, Xbox means something. It means the console of my choice. And I know that sounds console war as fuck, but I like to play my games on an Xbox. I will always love and want to play my games on an Xbox, a console, a box that plays the games. I'm hoping there will always be a disk drive. At some point, probably not. I will have to use them for beer coasters. But do you see where I'm going? I don't want to, like I said, I could go on all night, but I'm a pessimist. And I just don't trust corporations. Look, there's a reason cancer isn't cured, okay? Because there's a reason cancer isn't cured, because fucking governments know they ain't going to cure it, because the cure is out there. It's probably been out there for 30 fucking years.
Yep.
We can send a person to the moon in the 60s. To the moon, people. We can send a person to the moon, but we can't cure cancer. Like, I'm fucking sorry, but I think that's bullshit. That's another topic, but I'm just saying I don't trust any corporation that stands to make billions of dollars by leeching people, and they don't give you the truth. Like I said, we can walk like lemmings all day long and go, oh, this is good, this is good, this is good, because they tell you it's good. But trust me, usually with everything that's really good, there's also some really bad things too. And I'm always touch and go when it comes to that shit. So, like I said, but I'm going to leave it at that, because, like I said, I'm opening up a whole can of worms. I don't want to start a big argument, but like I said, I like my consoles. I hope they don't go away. I'm going to keep supporting consoles until they no longer exist. And when that day comes, I will strongly figure out where I'm going when it comes to my gaming hobbies.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, dude, it's again, again, corporations, they're in it to make money. We're aware of that. But you know what? I just feel like out of the three The one that I have the most faith in is Microsoft, simply because Phil Spencer is running the show,
Mm-hmm.
and he understands that uh, there are different tastes as an Xbox fan. And they're gonna be appealing to just about everyone. Again, you have your hardcore, you have your middle of the road, and you have your casuals, which make up probably 70+% of what sold the PlayStation 4. And what are the casuals? Well, the casuals are the people that buy 2 and 3 games. And what I like what Microsoft is doing is they're going to have a digital box that's going to be $150 that says, if you don't want a disc, if you just want to, you don't want the traditional $500 expensive box, we got something for you. It's inexpensive. They have the middle of the road box, which is they're comparing it to the S, which is right now. And then of course they're going to have the Anaconda for the diehard gamers like us, who want that big beefy, $400, $500, $600 box underneath your TV that plays your games, that has a disk drive. And the way they're doing it is smart. They're giving the consumer choice. And, who's to say that the next generation may not last? I mean, everyone's assuming there's going to be a mid-gen refresh because it happened this generation. But if the consoles are that much more powerful, who's to say that we're not going to have these boxes underneath our TVs for the next 10 years? We can't say that. So,
yeah, absolutely. Well, I think consoles are here to stay, at least for the next little while. I have no doubt about that. I don't think anyone's ready. I mean, the infrastructure is coming a long ways, but it's not quite there yet. Like I said, the servers, the 5G, more people having fast enough internet to maintain this. I mean, I've seen this a lot too, and stuff like Netflix, for example, where you're streaming your movie. And for the first 5 or 10 minutes, the resolution's good, and all of a sudden you'll get a dip in your internet, and then all of a sudden you're watching a damn movie at 480 for the next, 5 or 10 minutes, and it's like, you know what I mean?
yes.
And that kind of bugs the shit out of me. So it needs to be very consistent, because a lot of times I'm like, man, I just want to watch it on Blu-ray, because then at least the quality's steady the whole way through. But that kind of leads us into the next topic, Boom, which is heading over to, CEO, one of the founders of Ubisoft, Yves Guillemot, I think I pronounced that right.
That's correct. Yeah.
Has stated that he thinks this will be the last console generation, and he might be kind of right. I guess if anybody's going to know in advance, it's going to be a game publisher, because at some point in time, they're going to stop getting these dev kits, and I suppose I guess they'd always have to get dev kits of some sort, but I don't know how that's going to roll. But what do you think of those statements? You think he's onto something? You think we're maybe in for the next 20 years? Or do you think the next kick at the can from Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo might be the last one we see?
Here's the thing. I'm actually we're gonna be talking about this in more detail on Friday's show. But I gotta respond to what you're saying, because you see, listen, he's the CEO of Ubisoft. So who the hell am I, Mr. Nobody with 2,000 subs, to challenge what he sees? Because he obviously knows what's going on behind the scenes. I mean, come on, anyone that thinks that Sony doesn't know what Microsoft is doing and Microsoft doesn't know what Sony's doing and vice versa, you'd be a fool. I mean, they may not know the secret details, you know what I'm saying, but they all have an idea. But I'm gonna say that based on his opinion, I think that he's wrong. And the reason why I even would dare challenge a CEO of Ubisoft, which is, by the way, one of my favorite companies, is simply because he might be looking at a market from a different set of eyes than we are. I mean, listen, here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about, Newf. You look at Nintendo, right? You take the Switch. Now, you just got one again, right? You have it. You're enjoying it. I have like 40 games for it. I love it. I think it's fantastic. But you see, the magic of this device is the fact that it's a piece of hardware in your hands. And listen, for me, I play it docked mostly. Every now and again, like I picked up over the holiday Captain Toad. And every time, every now and again, I'm watching, a movie with Jost or something, and I kind of just want to go through a level or two, and I take it out of the dock and I play it while we're sitting on the couch. But it's something about that piece of hardware in your hand that cannot be replicated through digital.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that he's wrong, because I'm not saying that this is what Microsoft and Sony are going to do. What I'm saying is that Nintendo is doing it, and even though it's a very, very underpowered console as opposed to your your X and your PS4 Pro, it's selling like hotcakes. Now that you look at, I mean, again, if the market was slowing down to go digital, Sony wouldn't be touting 100 million consoles sold, right? I mean, and I mean that they're going to get there this year. There's just no doubt about it. So, I mean, again, he has the inside baseball knowledge that both you and I and everyone in the chat, we don't have that. But I still think that what the future that he sees doesn't get here for another 20 years, man.
Right. Well, I mean, if there's one medium that was meant to go digital, I'm going to say it was the music medium, right? Now I'm going to say why, is because music, unlike movies or games, is consumed in small dosages, right? I mean, it's basically a 3-minute song, 4-minute song, etc. And very few of us will ever own CDs that you want to listen to from start to finish. I find those hard, very, very few and far between. Like, of all the CDs I own, there's probably about, a dozen that I think almost every song is great. But there's a lot where like there's 2 or 3 decent songs and the rest are absolute trash.
Yes.
So like, to me, digital for songs makes sense because you're going to consume music in small dosages, like 2 or 3 minutes. Now, if I had to get up and put a disc in my fucking console every 3 minutes, I'd be drove nuts. Okay, like, because when I sit down to play a game, I'm usually playing for a good hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and that's okay. But like I said, if I had to do that with a disc-based game, I'd be absolutely drove off my mind. Plus, you're talking about quality too, right? Like, for discs, that's the thing. Like, we're at the pinnacle now where it doesn't. The only thing that discs don't have going for them is storage. Like, at some point the storage gets maxed out. We're seeing Blu-rays kind of already get maxed out, and I'm pretty sure a couple of years ago we never thought that would happen. It's like, wow, it's 50 gigs on a Blu-ray disc. Like, there's no way anybody's going to fill that up. I remember having the Xbox 360. Remember when we had the 20 gigabyte hard drive and we thought there was no way in hell we were ever going to fill it? Well, guess what happened? All right, like, that's how technology has changed, that even 20 gigabytes, like I said, 10, 15 years ago, that sounded massive. And now you're just like people laugh at a terabyte now. Like, a terabyte? Like, that's
a joke.
Man. That's like practically an update on freaking Call of Duty, So that's what I'm saying. Like, so for digital music, I totally get it. It makes a lot more sense. And CDs, I mean, those crappy ass cases, and you don't want to carry around, 100 albums to listen to 20 songs. That kind of doesn't make sense. But for the rest of the medium, I totally get it. Like, to me, I still think the discs, and even then, like, discs now, and I do get it. Like, really, all they are, and I'm totally not stupid, all they are is as DRM. They're DRM licenses on a piece of plastic, because essentially you pop it in your machine. The first thing what happens, you do the update, right? And then it does an install. And most of the time it installs a lot of the stuff straight from the net anyway. So technically it's what it is, but there's something about collecting it, having that physical collection that's still very impressive. I mean, you look at these guys online like RGB, and you look at, Xbox Addict, God rest his soul, when he did his videos, you see all his collection. Yeah. And I mean, is there not one person out there who'd look at that and be just blown away? Like, wow, that is an amazing collection of stuff. Like, boom, you already got a crazy ass collection. As a matter of fact, you should have done this podcast with your Fallout 76 helmet on.
Yeah, I mean, look, and that's the thing, Newf. I'm there with you, because I had some 360 collection, and I have a lot of stuff in storage. Like, for instance, the Dreamcast, I still have 90 games for that, dude.
Damn.
The old OG Xbox, I think I have 70. The 360, I'm probably well over 200. And you know what? Again, my wife and I live in an apartment, and there's only so much room. But I remember a time where, I do miss walking past a display case and seeing that physical collection in there, and especially like collector's editions, like the Gears of War, the Mass Effects, when these the Halos, when they had those big thick tin boxes, with the cover that slides over them, and the way I would lay it out is almost it would be like an art piece for me. To have the games piled up in the back, the main ones in the front standing there. So I see what you're saying. I do miss that, because, like, for instance, my Xbox One, I think I have about 830 something games.
Wow.
And I have 14 I'm running 14 terabytes on the Xbox One X. Yes, it's ridiculous. I think I think out of the 14 terabytes, I have like 4.6 left. Which I'm probably going to have to upgrade my terabytes eventually, because you said it. 1 terabyte is almost it's laughable now. You know what I'm saying? It's like 1 terabyte. That's insulting. So yeah, I mean, look, I think we are long away from a full on digital revolution, if you will. But I think that Microsoft, again, this is not a console war thing, folks. Because I don't know what Sony's doing. They've been very coy, and Nintendo, like I said, they are who they are. But at least Microsoft has, they have put out a roadmap for the fan base, and it's saying, listen, if you like what you like, and a guy like you liked this, here is a console for you, Newf. You take a guy like me who will buy that console, but maybe in the bedroom, go get the $150 one that's digital, because I don't want to spend $1,000, but I wouldn't mind spending $600.
Yeah.
So
he's reminded me of a great joke, people. How do you make a nerdy girl horny? You get like Mr. Boomstick and go, hey, baby, I got 14 terabytes. Oh, man. Couldn't help myself. Had to get a little no chills in there, people. And speaking of, what's going on to the chat, people? What are you doing? Thanks for hanging out with us. Fuck, you're a great group, man. Indie Gamers here. Shizno Elite. Salty is still hanging out. HR Bomber just popped in here. We got a lot of bombs and booms up in here. Mr. Boomstick and Nukem No Chills, kaboom, boom, blah, 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 boom, boom, kaboom.
Yeah, you got Spider-Man, Titan Drago, Salty's still here.
So Shady's still hanging out with us, bringing that session pie down on us. So Silent Wyvern's here, kicking and screaming. Woo, we smoking up in here. But yeah, man, like I said, we got a long ways to go yet, so we don't need to burn our bridges too much at this point in time. I guess, like I said, it's a wait and see. And at the end of the day, it's the thing that's going to drive the industry is where you spend your money. So wherever you tend to lean, that's the way they're going to go. So it's just like I said, I'm glad that Microsoft at least will have multiple options. That's always great to know. And like I said, I will be buying their biggest, heaviest, clunkiest ass motherfucking box.
Me too.
Disc. I want that option. Like I said, and I will continue to buy those options until they no longer exist. And at that time, I will just have to see where I guess my where I want to take my gaming at that point in time. So let's get in. Let's get a couple more topics through here before we roll out for tonight. Where am I at here? Let's see here. Let's talk about some movies. Let's get into some other lighthearted stuff, maybe away from the games. How about Aquaman? Boom. Have you seen the movie yet? And are you impressed that it's actually surpassed the 1 billion mark? Because I think it's 1 billion already. It's like it broke a billion. Grossing, certainly the biggest grossing, I think, DC Universe movie. And you've seen the movie, correct?
No, you know what? Here's the thing, dude. I actually did not. Do I want to see it? Absolutely. I think what they've done with it, it looks fantastic. I mean, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. My wife will see it with me, but she is an old school Aquaman fan, meaning that her Aquaman has to have blonde hair and wear the green pants and orange top. Now I know that at the end of the movie he gets the armor, but I mean, listen, I like Jason Momoa. I think he's a fun actor, so we're definitely going to see it. But I mean, listen, am I surprised that it broke $1 million? Well, here's the thing. I absolutely am. And it takes nothing away from the DCEU. Now, I'm an MCU guy through and through. I've seen all of, as a matter of fact, I think that I know people give Justice League a lot of shit. And I really enjoyed that film. I every time that it's on cable, I will stop changing the channel and watch it at any point. Now, sure, there's a tremendous amount of plot point holes and this, that, and the third, and Zack Snyder left because of this, and we know the whole story.
Absolutely.
But the DCEU is a conundrum wrapped in an enigma. And why I say that is because, They failed with the Superman reboot, which I thought was it was a good movie. Wasn't terrible, wasn't great. It was good. And then you had BVS, which was that was terrible. I'm sorry, I just thought that was really
Yeah.
terrible. They threw three of the biggest, you know. DC comics into one film. It just was terrible. Wonder Woman was fantastic.
Hmm.
Suicide Squad, not so much. Justice League, take it or leave it. But Aquaman, never saw that coming. And
Yeah.
what I'm hoping, I mean, because obviously James Wan, who directed it, is a genius. He really is he's a fantastic director.
Hmm.
So I'm very happy for DC. I really hope that they use this success as a stepping stone, if you will, the brick that starts to build the house. Because you know what? When both DC and Marvel succeed, we all win as fans,
Yeah.
right? It means
Absolutely.
more movies for us to see. So I'm really, I mean, I actually well, again, the digital, but I bought it on Xbox Live already. So it's because I buy all my movies on Xbox Video. So I already bought it. I'm just waiting for it to come out.
Absolutely. I just watched Venom the other night, and
I enjoyed it.
I thought it was okay. But here's the deal: I don't think, to me personally, I don't think it was necessarily a bad movie as much as I think overall I just don't like the character. Right? I'm not a big Venom guy. I mean, technically, he's sort of a villain. He was always portrayed as more or less a villain in the Spider-Man universe.
Hmm.
So here he's kind of like, I don't know, a semi-villain superhero. I don't really know sort of where they're trying to place him, but I mean, I love Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy's a really good actor. He's got a lot of charisma. I didn't mind him in the role per se, but just there was something about the movie just felt off to me. But it wasn't too bad. It's just not something I'd care to watch a bunch of times. Um, Me personally, I think my favorite movie from the DC side of things so far was probably Man of Steel. I thought that movie was amazing. Batman versus Superman was kind of meh, and and Justice League I thought was decent. I guess you could say it had some
I loved
problems as
Wonder
well.
Woman. Wonder Woman is one of my
Um,
favorites. Yeah,
that was very solid. That was quite good actually. So yeah, and I think it was because Wonder Woman 2, it was like less is more. It was a little bit more simpler, but it was just the quality all the way through, and it didn't rely as heavy as on CGI as much as some of the other DC stuff, which looked really, really tacky in my opinion. I think that was the one thing I didn't like. Marvel has always done their CGI stuff a little bit better, I think. But yeah, but I'm just happy though to see that Aquaman is finding a home, especially considering Aquaman in the scheme of things too isn't really one of DC's sort of go-to characters. I
no.
mean, he's popular, but I mean, I bet you there's a lot of people who went out and saw the Aquaman movie who really had no fucking idea about Aquaman. Do you know what I mean? Outside of the comic book fans who probably follow Aquaman closely, I think this movie has resonated not only with the fans, but I think it resonated pretty well with just like moviegoers. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah, listen, I'm happy for James Wan. I'm happy for Jason Momoa. I'm really interested to see it. But a lot of people in the chat are talking about
yeah,
the Spider-Man trailer,
right.
Far From Home, that dropped today. Did you get a chance to see that, Newf?
I know it was out, but I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. I was going to try to check it out before the show, but I will um, definitely get to it. So yeah, but I haven't seen it yet. So yeah, I can't
All right.
comment on it. I got to watch it.
Well,
Probably
definitely
check it
do,
out
because
after the show.
it looks fantastic, man. It's just so well done.
Absolutely. Good stuff. But no, like I said, this podcast is sometimes about just the lighthearted stuff and things like that. And speaking of like Aquaman and different things, I wanted to talk about, I guess, the Uncharted movie. That's kind of been going through a bit of a limbo. I know they've been talking for some time of making an Uncharted movie. I'm
Hmm.
kind of surprised we haven't had one at some point already. They did make that little small one that I think Nathan Fillion was more or
Oh, that
less
was so
doing.
good.
I love that. That was fantastic. I know Salty's going to give me a razz with this because I was promoting it so much. But look, Nathan Fillion, to me personally, that man was born for that role.
He
To
certainly
me,
was.
he
Yeah.
looks the part. He sounds the part. I mean, well, as a matter of fact, I think when they was it in Destiny when they took out Nathan Fillion from what's the character? The guy with the
Oh,
spike on his head. You know the guy I'm talking about.
yes,
Somebody in the
yes.
chat will probably come up. That main guy, wasn't Nathan Villian voice him in Destiny, and then Nathan I guess didn't have a chance to do part of the role from the expansion. So guess who did the voice? Was the dude who does Nathan Drake. So that's kind of funny, right? That what? And I can't even remember his name. Cade.
Cade. Yes,
Cade is
thank
the
you, Timothy.
character,
Timothy
and
Dixon. Thank you for the assist, my friend.
right. So the two of those, and they almost sounded identical in the role. So I thought, yes, like I said, Nathan Fillion's born to do Nathan Drake. I thought that was an amazing. So to me, like, they got a new director. He's the guy that directed 10 Cloverfield Lane, something Dan Trachtenberg, I think that's his name. So they finally have a director. So hopefully that gets off the ground. I know there's a Gears of War movie supposedly coming out as well. I can tell you for a fact, Rod Ferguson has already put out some stuff saying, yes, it's in production or pre-production at this point. I have no idea who the hell the freaking actors are going to be. I hope they get that right. But anyway, I just wanted to ask you about games to movies in general. Like, first of all, Boom, what's been the best game translated movie you've seen so far, and why do you think so many of them fail to live up to expectations? I'm kind of curious to know what you think on that.
Okay, well, first of all, games to film notoriously have just been outstandingly horrendous, and it's hard. I mean, you look at the Resident Evil franchise, and that's a perfect example of just as a fan of the series. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've seen them all multiple times. The Resident Evil logo on it, and there are some, familiar characteristics, but they were all terrible movies. They're rebooted. And I'm going back 15, 20 years, to be honest, that has any legs would be Rampage. That was just out with The Rock. Now, yes, it's not your, I mean, again, what do you think they were going to do? I absolutely loved it. I thought it was as close to those creatures actually being around in so-called real life. So I really enjoyed that. I know it doesn't have nothing to do with a particular one game, but Ready Player One is probably one of my favorite gaming franchises of all time. I've seen it about 20 times already. I absolutely adore it. Yeah. But why are they bad? I don't know. I got news for you. If you and I figure this out, we're going to be rich. I'm going to tell you that right now, Newf. Okay, well, I'm coming to Canada and we're going to have a beer together. Even though I don't drink, I'll drink a beer with you because I don't know what happens. I guess it's people making decisions with the money who have no effing clue as to what is happening. I don't know why. It's amazing because they can tell such great stories and do these CG movies in a game, and everyone in the chat is just so blown away. But they can't do it in film. I don't know, dude.
Well, here's the thing, Boom, and I think this is part of the reason. And I've never understood this one is like which fan base are these movie companies trying to appeal to, or which one are they trying to please? Because yes, they're always adapted based on game licenses, right? And I mean, this goes back for a long time. But I've noticed a very big trend with the majority of game to movies is that they steer clear of the game scripts. They steer clear of even the books. I mean, if you guys have read anything from like the novels itself, for example, there hasn't been a Halo film. But I'm saying there's enough material that people have written out there that could be easily adapted into a great movie, but yet they write their own scripts for these games or these movies based on games. And again, they're loose. And you being a big Resident Evil fan, here's one, right? They tried to turn Resident Evil into this massive movie franchise. And to some degree, they were somewhat successful. I mean, they spawned 5 or 6 sequels. But why, like in the original game, like why didn't you use, first of all, any of the characters that were made famous by the games? There was no Jill Valentine, like the original one, right? There was no Jill Valentine. There was no Chris Redfield. There was none of these people. Eventually, some of them started showing up in the sequels. But first of all, like right there, they took out your main characters that people are familiar with, and they cast Mila Jovovich in an unknown sort of character role. They twisted the story. And you know what I mean? Like, and they do this all the time with these movies. And the best one that I can think of, and Timothy Dixon brought up in the chat, was like Tomb Raider movie. And the thing I loved about the new Tomb Raider was the character was believable. The special
Yeah.
effects and the stunts were very believable for the most part. They kind of at least tried to stick pretty well to the script. As a matter of fact, it was pretty close to the original game from
Yes. Yes.
2013. They
Yep.
even used some of the scenery and some of the camera angles were almost shot in the way that some of the game was done. And I actually really enjoy that because I could identify with the movie. I almost felt like, yeah, I've seen this before because it was in the game. And some of the Resident Evil movies weren't all of, I don't think they were too bad. I think, like I said, everybody has different opinions. There were some really stinky video game movies. I can think anything that Uwe Boll has made, he destroyed. Anybody
Yes.
know Uwe Boll and his terrible
House of the
video game
Dead.
movies? Oh my lord! What else didn't he make a Far Cry movie and he made a bunch of other ones and they're
He
just
just
absolute god awful.
Yeah.
I think he made Blood Rain too. People, they're so bad that people don't even know those video games are turned into movies. That's how bad Uwe Boll butchered them. And yet people kept giving him the money to keep making these movies. And you're like, dude, do you guys not know this guy's got a reputation for butchering people's favorite games? See, Easy Money in the chat says, what's his name? Assassin's Creed. I actually thought that wasn't bad. I actually liked how they did the stunt of the guy coming off the tower, like the game and stuff like that. The Wizard. Oh my God. Now we're going back to an old one. The Wizard with Fred Savage. Holy mackerel. The Power Glove.
So Shady brought up Grandma's Boy, which is one of my very, very happily to admit guilty pleasure movies. I watch it every time that it's on. It's just,
oh my God, it was so good too.
So good.
Absolutely. You know what? The best Resident Evil video game movies were actually the CGI based ones. Those were pretty damn good.
Yes, they were actually. I have one.
I can't remember half the names of them, but they were pretty good actually. So yeah, go watch those.
Yeah, those were really good Resident Evil. Those are based on the actual game.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then because of CGI, they almost felt like you were watching just like the game without the actual game part. So yeah, but anyway, like I think that's the big reason those movies tend to be a bit of a stink because I think they're always trying to find that fine line of appealing more to the movie-based people that don't know what the fuck they're watching. They're just, what's this movie about? It looks cool, and they go in. Whereas I think first of all they have to make a movie for the fans and then worry about the other audience. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of times I think it's the backwards. They try to adapt a script. They try to make it as much movie-like as they can. So a lot of cases they try to water it down by going from an M-rated game into, say, a PG-13 movie or a G-rated movie. And there's mistake number one. That's the reason why Deadpool was actually really good because it was able to stay closer to the actual comics and to the kind of humor that's portrayed until they came up with that stinky ass PG version, I think before Christmas or whatever, Once Upon a Deadpool, which apparently the guys who rated it said it was terrible because they had to cut everything out. Hey, Bob, what's going on, man? You're welcome for the shout out. To anybody we haven't shouted out tonight, thanks for stopping by, checking out the stream. We're just about ready to wrap it up here for tonight. I won't keep Boom too long. I know it's getting late, and we've kind of gone through some of the topics, and some of these topics we're going to get into detail as well on Boom's podcast and later on in this week. So, I don't know, Boom, is there anything in particular you want to kind of bring up or put out there?
No, I mean, listen, dude, this has been fantastic, man. I mean, I cannot believe an hour went by so quickly. It seemed like we just started. The chat was completely on fire once again, being civil with one another, and I really think you appreciate that. But I say it all the time. When we do these shows, the chat for the most part polices itself, we say it all the time proudly that we would not be here to do content if it wasn't for the incredible chat that listens, and I appreciate you guys coming out, and Newf, this is great, dude. I'm glad that again, when you first said, oh, well, I'm kind of going to close down the shop, I got a little concerned, but I'm glad that you fixed, kind of just clarified that on the back end, because Primal's, she really knows her shit. Yeah. She's a good community member, really good friend, and I think you guys are really going to knock it out of the park.
There you go. And check out Gaming News at noon tomorrow on Salty's channel with Mr. Boomstick and Salty's Gaming. You're on that one, right? That's the one you're on?
Yes.
Okay, I get confused sometimes. I'm sorry.
You know what, dude? It's crazy because I've gotten to do so much live content that it sometimes gets overwhelming. But yes, Wednesdays are gaming news at noon with Salty and Boom. This week it's on Salty's channel. Next week it's on mine. We bounce back and forth. Thursday, of course, at noon is going to be the Xbox Factor podcast, and that's Xbox only. And of course, Breakfast with Boom on Friday morning. And then of course you're going to be on that.
There you go. You heard it right here, guys. You heard it right here. Well, I guess some guys in the chat have been dying for me to do my Ernie, so I can't let these people down. They came. Maybe some people only came to hear Cletus or Ernie or whatever. So I'm going to give you some Ernie right now. And all I can say, if Ernie was playing the Resident Evil 2 demo or whatever, the game, and he saw that damn liquor, he'd be definitely going, "What the hell? You're one ugly motherfucker. I'm gonna need bigger boys. I'm gonna pump you in the head, and then I'm gonna run down the hallway, kicking and screaming, and I'm going to slam a barbell on his head and kick him out the door. I hate it. He's dead. He's dead to me now. Do it. Just get to the chopper. Boom. Let's go."
Very, very nice.
I do want to, I guess since it's kind of been put out on the Twitterverse here, guys, and I want to clear something up just to straighten this out. Yes, there's been a few announcements tonight. Like I said, Goofing with Newf, I'm putting this one sort of to bed. I guess it's being readapted, right? As I said, Primal's going to be joining me. We're still going to be doing a weekly thing, that sort of stuff. So that's the good news. It's just, like I said, a title change and an addition of a podcast member. Another one that's been a little concerning, this one's been kind of weird for a while, guys. The Game Dosage podcast on Monday nights, as some of you may or not know, we were going pretty good for a while. And I don't know what the hell happened. Stinking Corpse kind of got busy with life and kind of wandered off the panel. And Glitch has been going through a lot of life troubles. Shout out to Glitch, but he messaged me the other night and kind of said he wants to take a step back from it for a while, kind of like a hiatus. And then Invader kind of comes to us. He's been busy with some other projects as well, and he figures he just doesn't have the time and stuff to commit to the show, which kind of leaves us down 3 members. We still have, a few members left to run the podcast if we chose, but because of everybody's obligations and dwindling viewership and inconsistencies, being all over the place on different people's channels, not good when you're trying to build a podcast. That sort of stuff was definitely a hurt for us. So I guess what can I say, guys? We're going to be putting the Game Dosage podcast down for a little while. We'll come back in the future, hopefully with a remedy for everything. But I just wanted to let everybody know that podcast is going to be just kind of kicking the bucket for a little while. It's on hiatus for a while. There is Primal right now. Speak of my awesome co-host. That our podcast, we got to iron out a few details yet before we get into other things. But I just wanted to clear that for people. There is no arguments. There's no fighting. There's nothing going on between panel members. It's life. It happens. People get busy. Shit happens, right? We all know that. Other commitments and stuff. And if you're going to do this podcast stuff, and Boom can tell you, and I'm sure he will, like I said, it's work. It's a commitment. You've got to find a good time slot. There's 101 podcasts going up against you each and every night now. Unlike when I started this podcast stuff, there was few and far between, and now it seems like every time I turn around, somebody's running a new show. Me included, right? And you don't want to go up against people that you admire, and because you feel like you're stepping on their toes, even though we all do this free and nobody's locked into a time slot. But when you can, you try to avoid the other traffic for the most part. But yeah, everybody has commitments, and it was just kind of a consensus that I could run the podcast on Mondays if I chose, but I just think right now with so many members being out, we're just going to have to just kind of let that one rest for a while. I'm hoping to bring it back. I think we're all hoping to bring it back, but right now it's kind of it's up to kind of Glitch and what he wants to do, because it's me and Glitch kind of the one who started that. So if he comes back and says let's go full go, I mean, we'll try it out, but we'll see how it goes. So, but I want to give a big shout out to my members here before we close up. So I got to give a shout out, obviously, to Glitcher. A big shout out to Proto Foxy, Primal Eve, Jago Kukin, Stinking Corpse, and Invader, just for being awesome, for towing the rope for so long. It's like I said, it's sad, but it happens. It's not the end of the world. I think almost everybody that was on our panel is on some sort of podcast of another sort. So it's not like you can't really hear us. It's just in the things. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. I'll leave it at that. Thanks, Salty. Glad that you're there to let me know that I'm straightening this out, and people at least know what the hell's going on, so they stop asking me questions. And Boom, I'm going to let you do your outro, my friend. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's been an absolute honor and a pleasure. I'm glad to know like you were the last one on this particular show, I suppose you could say. So go ahead, like I said, let people know how to find you, how to subscribe, all that good stuff.
Yeah, real easy. Most people in here that are that a few new faces that I've never seen before. If you're interested, hit me up on Twitter. I basically do a follow for a follow. If you follow me, I'm going to follow you. I mean, literally, it's the least I can do. My DM is open, and you can talk to me about anything, life, gaming, whatever. I like interacting with the community. Officer friendly, as Mooch has donned my name. Of course, for me, it's unicorns and rainbows all day long. So I like dealing with the community, and I like helping whenever I can. And of course, if you're interested and you want to see loads of live content on a weekly basis, check out Double Barrel Gaming. Obviously, I gave you the 3 shows that I'm a part of. And Saturday, I'm having a special edition show. It's something new that I added to the channel called Double Barrel Gaming Presents. And basically, what it is, Newf, is it's a retelling or a rebranding of the community spotlight that I have done for well over 100 members of this community. Because writing out those those bios based on questions became very difficult, especially when I started, the channel started to grow. So thanks, of course, to my wife, who's the biggest supporter. She said you should bring it back in a big way. And so once a month, I have an entire panel of a particular podcast on, and we get the show runs 2 hours. The first hour is basically the back origin story of everyone on that show. And this Saturday, I'm going to have the entire crew from the Basement Radio Arcade podcast on there, and we're going to get to see how they became friends and how they teamed up to be to make the show. And that's going to go on that's once a month, once a month, every Saturday, in that month. And I did it with the Iron Lords podcast first, and it was a raging success, almost 2,000 views. And I'm hoping that we could do the same thing this Saturday. So if you're interested, pop by, say hello. And you know what? If you listen to Brap, you may not know some of the inner outs of how they became who they are. So stop by.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, guys and gals, we are all gamers at heart. And you know what? While some people say sometimes gaming drives us apart because of all the console war crap, you know what? More often than not, it actually brings us together. I've met so many great people through the podcast community. I've met so many great people since I've gotten the podcast that I found out were really into gaming like me. This is kind of the reason I got into it, as a lot of us, because it gave us an avenue and a way of reaching out to gamers with many of the same similarities that love gaming is a passion of ours. You know what I mean? And you got to be passionate about gaming if you're willing to put as much time into making podcasts like Boom and Crap Gamer and Mooch and all these awesome people. And, and Salty in the house, he's putting out some great content, guys. Subscribe to his channel too. And like the list goes on, right? But yeah, like I said, it brings us together too. So you can't overlook that. And, get out there, game, and hopefully we get some more gaming nights on the go where we can get our close people together. Boom! I really enjoyed playing Titanfall 2 with you that one night.
Was great. Yes,
it wasn't long, but we loved having you there while you were able to make it. So hopefully we get to do that again soon.
Absolutely, yeah, that was a lot of fun, and I think we're going to be doing a little bit more of that once Anthem releases. That's going to be, I could see me, you, Jago, and a bunch of the community getting together for that.
Amen on that. Well, anyway, guys, we're going to wrap up the show. It is 9:14 Alberta time. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out and hanging out with us in the chat. You're freaking amazing. Most of you have been here for the whole hour and a half, basically, or pretty close to an hour and a half. And I want to thank everybody as well for the support of Goofing with Newf up until now. I hope that you'll transition over and catch me in Primal as we double dose ourselves on a podcast here pretty soon. We're excited to bring that to you. We'll have the details coming up real soon. Chase Jones, how are you, my friend? Good to see you here, brother. But that's pretty much it. Speaking of game nights, yeah, I'm hoping to do some Battlefield 5 shortly with Salty, if anybody's wondering. I don't know if you've got any openings left, but hit them up. That's about it. But anyway, I want to thank Boom for being here, being an amazing guest. Good to have him on. Can't wait to do Breakfast with Boom on Friday. We can talk about some more of these topics in detail. It's going to be good. Anyway, everybody, peace out. Have a great night. Keep it gaming. Keep it real. Love you much. Cheers. Boom, boom, kaboom is out.
Yeah, everybody.